make sure you are not coming into marriage, conceiving and bringing forth a child who will suffer for the rest of their life, or children who will suffer for the rest of their life. God told us if we break his commandments, he will put these sicknesses, curses on us that will be for a long continuation, even the ones that you've never heard of that's not in the Bible. We are the ones that have majority of these inherited diseases, even acquired ones. It's commonly amongst the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who are the true Israelites. They're real Jews. They're real Jews, all right? We have majority of these illnesses, but we are the ones that mostly reject healthcare. Sickle cell disease is a long-term disease. And to cut it off, you need to do a genetic counseling before getting married. Shalom. Most High in Christ bless you all. This is Officer Emmanuel with IUIC Dallas. So today we have a class where we're going to talk about genetically inherited diseases. All right, genetically inherited diseases or chromosomal disorders. And the reason we want to deal with this class is because these are the situations or the conditions so many of our children go through for the rest of their life. And we're going to talk about the simplest one that's very common in the black Hispanic community. All right? Very, very common among the black Hispanics, which are the Israelites. All right? Which are the Israelites according to the Bible. All right, so let's start off with the scripture, and then we're going to go more into this. Give me the book of Sirach, chapter 5, verse 15. This is very, very important, especially for us who are proving. It's also important for our brothers and sisters who are not in the truth. Okay, it's also important for your brothers, our brothers and our sisters, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. If you're listening to this video, this is for you, all right? Those of you who are trying to get married, trying to find you a wife or find you a husband, this is very, very important. There are some things we need to consider and look into going into this process. Does it stop you from getting married? No, it doesn't. Every decision comes from both the man and the woman before getting married. All right, read what you got.
Sirach, chapter 5 and verse 15. Be not ignorant of anything.
So, brothers, sisters, we should not be ignorant of anything. All right? Anything in this case, we should not be ignorant to realize what's going on as a man, what's going on in the woman's family genetically, or the woman, what's going on in the husband's household or the husband's family genetically. All right? Read.
In a great matter or a small.
Whether it be great, whether it be severe, or whether it be small or mild. Let's make sure when we get to that, when we go into that process of proving that we do these tests or counsel, all right, health counsel, to make sure you are not coming into marriage, conceiving and bringing forth a child who will suffer for the rest of their life, or children who will suffer for the rest of their life. Because in the world, they call it genetic counseling. Pull it up. Can you pull it up for me? Genetic counseling. I didn't send you any link on that. I'm sorry. It's called genetic counseling. Very, very, very important. Very, very important. All right? And I'm coming for my background because not to boast of it. That's not what I'm doing, but I'm a medical doctor. I have a 10 years background in medicine. 10 years in total, including school, is all together about 15 years, 14, 15 years. All right? So That's why I'm speaking on this, because there's something that I'm realizing that many of our people do not go through before getting to marriage. All right? Read that.
What is genetic counseling? Genetic counseling gives you information about how genetic conditions might affect you or your family.
About how genetic conditions might affect you or your family, all right? Mostly in this case will be your family, your kids specifically, the children you are about to bring into this world. Go on.
The genetic counselor or other healthcare professional will collect your personal and family health history.
So they will collect your personal history. They'll ask you questions. Doctors will question you, question the wife, because for genetic counseling to be done, it has to be you and the woman you're about to marry. All right? You're going to go together to a health professional and seek counsel. All right? They'll ask you questions, ask the woman questions, and then they will also do some tests. All right? If you're open to it, they will run some tests to make sure you're not going to have kids that will go through some genetic illnesses for the rest of their life. And guess what? If they are ill like that or sick like that, it will affect you as a parent, because what? You will keep on paying these monstrous amounts of bills for the rest of your life, because your kids might end up in the hospital more than they're supposed to. And some of these situations can be caused by bad habits during pregnancy. It can be caused by a bad habit during pregnancy. That's why medically, not scripturally, but medically, I will advise women to be careful about drinking alcohol even before pregnancy, because it can become a habit and it will be hard for the women to stop drinking alcohol when they're pregnant. And when they get pregnant, if they keep drinking alcohol, that will definitely affect the children. It will definitely affect the children. That's why it's advisable as a woman not to be drinking alcohol prior to pregnancy, because that can make you build up a habit that will be hard for you to stop once you get pregnant in your marriage. In your marriage, not outside your marriage. All right? Okay, so give me Deuteronomy chapter 28. Because God put a curse on the children of Israel. All right? He put a curse upon us for disobeying his laws, statutes, and commandments. All right? And we're going to read a little bit about illnesses in Deuteronomy 28, verse 15, and we will go through some illnesses that can cause problem during, when you have kids, all right? But the most common one is the one we're going to deal with today, which is sickle cell anemia. But there's still more on that. Read what you got.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments.
So here, Moses is speaking to the children of Israel. These are the words that Moses received from the Lord God of Israel. All right, these are not his words. These are the words that he received from the Lord. And he's delivering it as a messenger, as a prophet to our forefathers in the wilderness. All right, give me chapter 1, verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. This is very, very important, all right, especially your brothers and sisters in this truth going through the proving process or about to go into a proving process. This is very, very important for you. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 1.
Read.
These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban, and Hazeroth, and Dizahab.
All right. Now go back to verse 28. This is the words that Moses spake unto the children of Israel. Not everybody. Not everybody. All right. Read that one more time in Deuteronomy 28, verse 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
Read.
that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So God said he will put curses upon the children of Israel. And these curses will come upon us and overtake us. Why? Because we are children of disobedience. That's why this stuff are happening to us. It was a warning back then. If you do not do my commandments, I will put a curse on y'all. That's what God told us. But guess what we did? We did exactly what he told us not to do. And guess what? For that reason, God put these curses upon us. Genetic diseases is very common among our people, and is even more, some of these genetic diseases are very specific, especially sickle cell anemia. It's very specific, or sickle cell trait, but sickle cell anemia, the disease one, is the one we're talking about. That's the one that comes up with lots of symptoms, signs, and also complications. All right? So our disobedience led to these issues that we have today. All right? Jump down to verse 58. Let's see what the Lord said. Where can we read about the curse of genetic diseases or illness in the Bible? Jump down to verse 58.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 58.
Read.
If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name,
Read.
the Lord thy God, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance.
And of what?
And of long continuance.
And of long continuance. Long continuance. Read that again, verse 58, because it's just similar to what we just read in verse 15. Read it one more time.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 58. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law.
If we're not going to observe to do the commandments of God. That's what the Lord spake unto our forefathers in the wilderness through the prophet Moses. Go on.
That are written in this book.
Read.
That thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful.
So if we do not show fear towards God, that's what our forefathers didn't do. They did not show fear towards the God of Israel, even though they witnessed him destroy Egypt with plagues and cross all our forefathers through the Red Sea and spake unto them from Mount Sinai. Our people still didn't have that fear. Our forefathers did not fear the Lord. All right? That's why he told us this is going to happen to us. Read verse 59.
Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful.
He will make the diseases wonderful in our community. That's why you have tuberculosis, sarcoidosis, sickle cell anemia. So many of these illnesses very, very common or predominant. Even though other nations may have it, it is predominant on our people. God warned us. He said, I'm going to make these plagues wonderful amongst you. Go on.
And the plagues of thy seed.
And the plagues of thy what?
Thy seed.
So not just our forefathers in the wilderness, but the plagues of the children and the children after them. Okay? What is he talking about? He says he's going to make them wonderful. It will destroy us. It will be very predominant and common amongst the children of Israel. So imagine us already have these curses upon us because we broke God's laws. Now there's some other illnesses that's common in other nations or to other nations. And now we intermarry these nations. Guess what's going on? We are mixing up a whole bundle of illnesses. That can be a repercussion, a way of judgment for our disobedience going into interracial marriage also. Now you have the curses that God put on us and the one other nations already had from the beginning. When it comes to illnesses, you're mixing it up. Now you have a whole bunch of genetic disorders. Genetic disorders going on in our community. All right, read it.
Even great plagues.
Even what?
Even great plagues.
Even great plagues, which are great plagues, great diseases. All right, go on.
And of long continuance.
And of long continuance. They're going to be chronic. They're going to be chronic illnesses, not short-term illnesses. Chronic illnesses that will put you on medication for the rest of your life, for the most part. Go on.
And sore sicknesses.
And what?
And sore sicknesses.
And sicknesses that will make you sore. Does sickle cell disease make people sore? Those who have it? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not saying this is only talking about sickle cell disease. Sickle cell disease is an example of a sore disease. Those who've gone through it and have complications, they will tell you what they go through with their bone pains. All right? When they go through bone pains. All right? It gets so sore. Go on.
And of long continuance.
And of long continuance. Go on.
Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt.
So moreover, with all this stuff that I spoke to you, the plagues of Egypt will come upon our people if we break God's commandments. Like you have all these boils that happen to the children of Egypt. Our people, did they go through that? Absolutely. Skin diseases. That's what you read about when you go to the book of Leviticus chapter 13. All of that is speaking about all kinds of boils, what they call in medicine, furuncles, carbuncles, okay, furunculosis, carbuncles, what else, folliculitis. All these stuff the Lord spoke against us if we break his commandments. He's going to bring all those plagues in Egypt against us. Keep going.
Which thou was afraid of.
Which thou was what?
Which thou was afraid of.
Because we saw that. Our forefathers witnessed the Egyptians go through all that kind of skin diseases. All right? There's some other ones, the ones they call, what they call it? Other skin diseases. You have something called in medicine. Eczema. All the eczema, you have another one in medicine they call neurofibromatosis. Neurofibromatosis 1 and 2 that affects your skin and makes you look horrible. You have what they call it today leprosy. They call it today leprosy, even though it's different from the biblical leprosy. All right? Keep going.
And they shall cleave unto thee.
They shall what?
And they shall cleave unto thee.
So these diseases shall cleave unto us. Go on.
Also every sickness and every plague.
Or every sickness and every plague, sicknesses that he mentioned in verse 59, the plagues of Egypt. Go on.
Which is not written in the book of
even the ones that are not written in the book of the law, you will never hear about in the Bible. Go on.
In the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
Until we are destroyed. Until we are destroyed. All right? Have you heard about sickle cell disease in the Bible? It's not in the Bible. All right? Sickle cell disease is not in the Bible. But it exists today. It exists amongst our people. God said, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee. Why? Because we broke God's commandment. Like I mentioned before, another way is us intermarrying with these other nations. Because inasmuch as we are already disobeying the laws of God, and we have a litany of illnesses that the Lord bestowed upon us, or plagues, or sicknesses that he put upon us, now us going in to marry these other nations will double up the disease or even add new diseases into the package that we already have as a people. All these is a punishment and judgment from God. All right? So, like I mentioned, we are talking about sickle cell diseases in this class specifically. But are there other diseases that can lead to genetic disorder? Yes, we have some other genetic diseases. before we read this, go to Google and type commonly inherited diseases in among the blacks.
While genetics may play a role in certain instances, socioeconomic factors have a significant impact on how African Americans are able to prevent and treat certain conditions.
All right, so socioeconomic factors, because you already know when you hear about third world countries, it's mostly our people living in the third world countries. All right, our people are scattered and enslaved in many of these countries, especially like when you go to Africa. All right, when you go to Africa, we are living in a third world country status. All right, when you go to second world countries, third world countries, we are placed in that kind of environment, what you call the projects, the ghetto. All right, they put us in a condition whereby it's all by design. It's all by design. These countries, these nations ruled by white men, Asian men, Arab men, they put us in those conditions whereby all we can do is beg for help. We don't have enough finances, funds, or strong socioeconomic status that can help us treat or deal with these illnesses. All right? All these are curses. All these are curses God put upon us. All right? So here it gives you a list of common diseases you find in African Americans. We deal with African Americans now. But then when you go to other countries where you have the blacks, it's still common amongst our people, not just in America. Not just in America. Even our people in Central South America, the Hispanics, the same thing. Native Americans, the same thing. All right? So let's see. What's the first one?
Heart disease.
The heart diseases common amongst our people. Go on.
High blood pressure.
Go on.
Cancer. Diabetes. Stroke. Peripheral artery disease. Sickle cell diseases. Preventing diseases to close the gap.
Now, when you go into in-depth, you will see some other diseases that's common, very, very common amongst our people. That are not listed here. There's so many of them. There's so many of them. All right? You're going to read about stuff like, what they call it, what I just mentioned before. Sarcoidosis, tuberculosis. Those are not genetically inherited diseases. Those are acquired diseases, or autoimmune diseases. But my point is what we just read in Deuteronomy 28 about the Lord putting plagues and diseases you've never heard about, even from the Bible, on our people, right? So today's topic is centered around what? Sickle cell diseases, whether it be a trait or whether it be the disease or the illness itself. All right.
People who inherit one sickle cell gene and one normal gene have sickle cell trait SCT. People with SCT usually do not have any of the symptoms of sickle cell disease, but they can pass the trait on to their children.
So see what he said. If you have a trait, people with the trait usually do not have any of the symptoms of sickle cell disease, but they can pass the trait on to their children. Now, when it comes to sickle cell, or when it comes to genotype, when it comes to this, you have the AA, that's the normal. You have the AS. AS is the trait. AA is somebody who have normal genes. All right? They don't have the trait or the disease of sickle cell. AS have half of it. Those are the ones called traits. SS means the person have full-blown sickle cell disease. All right? So remember that, because we're going to go into that later on, especially you men going into marriage, so he can help you understand what you're looking for, or what you should be looking for. All the women too, what you should be looking for. All right? Again, this does not prohibit you from getting married. The decision to get married relies both on the man and the woman, especially the man. All right? We are not telling you in this class, don't get married if you have a trait or a disease. That's not what this class is about. This is to educate our people so they understand what they are going into. All right, when you're going into marriage, at least have an idea what you might encounter so you can make a better decision that suits your marriage or your children, your future children, if it be the will of God. All right, so scroll down a little bit. Stop. Read it.
How sickle cell trait is inherited.
Okay.
If both parents have SCT.
So SCT means sickle cell trait. Go on.
There is a 50% or 1 in 2 chance that any child of theirs also will have SCT.
I'm going to explain all these later on. Read.
If the child inherits the sickle cell gene from one of the parents, such children will not have symptoms of SCD, but they can pass SCT on to their children.
They can pass a trait on to their children, all right? And and the reason it's like this is because this is what is called in medicine autosomal recessive disease. It's part of the autosomal recessive, not dominant. It is not dominant, all right? It is recessive. All right, next one.
If both parents have SCT.
If both parents have the traits. Go on.
There is a 25% or 1 in 4 chance that any child of theirs will have SCD.
So they always, when they do this genetic pedigree about AA or AS or SS, it's always between 4 children. They try to trace it or how it's going to be between 4 kids. All right, go on.
There is the same 25% or 1 in 4 chance that the child will not have SCD or SCT.
Right. So, again, this is the difference between both. So the first one said if both parents have SCT. Second one also said if both parents have SCT, meaning they both have traits, meaning the father is AS, that's a trait, and the mother is also AS. Okay? AS plus AS, right? So it tells you there is a 50% or 1 in 2 chance that any child of theirs will also have SCT. Meaning what? When an AS man and an AS woman get married and have 2 children, there is a 50% chance because one child is 50%, the other child is 50%. So there's a chance that one out of those 2 kids will have a trait. All right? There is a chance that there will be a trait out of 2 kids. That's what it's telling you in the first paragraph. All right? Now, in the second paragraph, it says if both parents have SCT, meaning the husband is a trait, AS, and the mother is also AS. Out of 4 children, 1 out of those 4 will most likely have sickle cell disease. Now, would you know if it's going to be the first one, second one, third one, or fourth one? It's up to the Lord. All right? We cannot determine that. But you will know that at least there's a chance if you have up to 4 children, 1 out of those 4 will have what? Sickle cell disease. All right? Sickle cell disease, that's what it's telling you if you have 4. If you have 2, 1 out of the 2 will have a trait. 1 will be normal, meaning have AA. The other one may have AS. And remember, we just read it before. It says, because somebody has a trait doesn't mean they're going to have the disease. Majority of the people who have a trait do not have any disease or any symptom or any clinical signs at all. They are, majority of the time, okay, just normal. All right? That's what this is telling you. All right, so scroll down. Let me see if there's more on that. All right, so this is an example of what we were just discussing. All right, the illustration is right here. So you see, on the left side is the mom at the top. The right side is the dad. So the part that you see that has no color on the mom is normal, which is the A. And the part that is dark blue is the S, AS. And the dad also is the same thing. All right? So when they mix together, okay, the first child typically have no blood disorder. All right? Typically, the first child always comes out AA. And funny enough, many people that I know who are AS for both parents, the first child is always come out as AA, meaning normal. All right? So the second one, the second child has AS. So how do they do it? They use something called pedigree. Apart from this, there's another stuff, a map or a charting that they use whereby they put AS and then they put another one AS. And then they will do A from the mom and A from the dad come together. They give you an AA. All right? That's the first child. Now, A from the dad and that S from the mom give you the second child. Now, the A from the mom and the S from the dad give you the third child. And now the S from the dad and the S from the mom give you the last child, which is full-blown sickle cell diseased child. All right? There is a chart they have on that. So it says unaffected career father, meaning AS. They mean they're carrying the trait. They don't have disease. That's why it said unaffected. They don't have the symptom, but they're carrying the trait, which is AS. When you look at the mom, it's the same thing. They are carrying the trait, but they don't have the disease. They are not showing any disease or symptom at all. All right, so you're going to see here he didn't use AS plus AS. He used RR and RR on the mom. So the father has the big R is a normal R. All right, for both, the big R is the normal R. The smaller R is the trait or the career. All right, so you will see how they put the lines, they draw the line. So you see how they mix up the big R from the dad and the big R from the mom gives you a normal child. All right, remember the big R is the normal gene. The smaller R is the trait or the career, the one that's carrying it, carrying a trait of sickle cell. All right, so the two big R combined together gave you a normal R. So one of the R from the dad combined with the big R on the mom give you a normal. The big R on the dad combined with the other R on the mom, it gave you a trait, a career, somebody who's carrying a trait of sickle cell. Now, the smaller R on the dad mixed up with the big R on the mom, it gave you a career. And then it's two smaller R's, meaning the trait and the trait come together and give you a full-blown disease. So that's what the S and the S from the AS, the S and the S combine together and they give you a full-blown sickle cell anemia. All right? Now, let's go back out. Let's go back out. Give me the next link. Give me the next link. All right, these are very important. That's exactly what we just read before in the, no, not the next link. Go back to the other link that we are in, the trait. Read Deuteronomy 28 again. Read verse 59. No, verse 61, sorry. 59 and 61.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 59. Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues.
See that? Even the plague of your children. So we just saw a father who has a plague but is not showing symptom. The mother has a plague but is not showing symptom, because sometimes we can be carrier of a disease. That's why some of you, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, when we had COVID, remember there was a time they were telling people, some of you may be a carrier of the disease. You may not show the disease, but you're carrying COVID. And if you sneeze around somebody who may not have good genes to fight against it, or who is very susceptible to illness, like those who take steroid, because long-term intake of steroid can decrease the immune system. Some people have HIV, AIDS. All right, some people have what they call it, transplant, organ transplant, because they stay on a medication that controls the immune system so that they don't go through rejection of the organ or any other form of immunocompromise or compromised or suppressed conditions. All right, they tell them to fall back because they can be easily affected by somebody who might be a carrier of COVID. All right? So this illness, all right, the trait is, if you have a trait, that means you carry the disease, but you are not showing it in your system. Meaning what? You don't have symptoms. You're just carrying a trait, a genetic trait of sickle cell. But two people who have traits, if they get married, it can cause an issue with one of the children, especially when they have 4 kids. One out of that 4 will definitely have sickle cell disease. Now, the ones who have traits, they don't have any problem. They're not going to have any problem. And the ones who have normal gene will also not have any problem, all right? This is what can come from the parents to their children, all right? Read.
And of long continuance, and sore sicknesses, and of long continuance.
Long continuance, long continuance. Said it twice. Chronic, long-term symptom of diseases or complications. Verse 61.
Verse 61. Also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee, until thou be destroyed.
Until thou be destroyed. Sometimes can means what? Until you are dead. Until he will destroy you or even kill you. All right? So, let's go back to what we're reading. So now we're going to go into the disease itself. Read what you got.
What is sickle cell disease? Sickle cell disease is a group of inherited red blood cells disorders.
It's a red blood cell disorder. So when you look on the right side, you see how they have a black family. Yeah, because it's common in the black family. All right? So why is it called sickle cell disease? Because when you look at the blood of whoever has this disease, the shape look like a sickle. You know the sickle people used to cut or harvest stuff in the farm. Some blood looks normal. Some of the blood cells look normal because blood cells have oval shape. But so many of these cells have a sickle shape. Why? Because they have been halved, meaning divided into 2 or something. All right? It's a genetic disorder. Some of these blood cells, they do not form normal like they're supposed to. All right? It's some form of mutation leads to this. All right? C-shaped, you can call it a C-shaped cells. All right, read it one more time.
Sickle cell diseases is a group of inherited red blood cell disorders. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin.
So hemoglobin is it's a combination of hem and protein called globin. Their job is to carry oxygen that you breathe in and circulate it all over your body. All right, go on.
A protein that carries oxygen.
See that? A protein that carries oxygen. So imagine when your body have a whole bunch of the red blood cells that is not normal. So that means the hemoglobin will not be normal. So guess what? Oxygen circulation will be affected in your system. All right? It will be affected in your system. Go on.
Healthy red blood cells are round, and they move through small blood vessels to carry oxygen to all parts of the body.
Read.
In someone who has SCD.
SCD means sickle cell disease, the full-blown disease. Go on.
The hemoglobin is abnormal.
Go on.
Which causes the red blood cells to become hard and sticky and look like a C-shaped form tool called a sickle.
See that? Form tool. That's why I mentioned harvesting in the farm. It look like a sickle that you use to harvest in a farm. All right? Go on.
The sickle cells die early.
They die early. Go on.
Which causes a constant shortage of red blood cells. Also, when they travel through small blood vessels, they get stuck and clog the blood flow.
They can clog the blood flow. All right? They can clog it up, and the other parts of your body that's supposed to receive the blood will not receive the blood. So let's say the blood is moving in this direction. If it gets clogged by the sickle-shaped red blood cell, that means that blood flow will stop. It will be affected, or the flow will be impeded. Now, little to nothing of blood carrying your oxygen to distribute it will be passing through the side. Because what? There's a clog along the way. There is a clog along the way caused by this sickle-shaped red blood cell. All right? Remember, he said it gets sticky. So imagine when more of them come over there, they will stick up to each other and clog up your artery. Sorry, they clog up your artery that you're not receiving enough oxygen or your organs are not well perfused. All right? Keep going.
This can cause pain and other serious complications.
See that? It can cause pain. All right? So many type of pain. It can be headache, serious headache for those who have sickle cell. It can be blurry vision because it clogged up and the blood flow to your eye is impeded. All right? It can be blurry vision. It can also affect you in the chest in something called acute chest syndrome. All right? It can even clog up in your spleen because usually a healthy red blood cell gets destroyed after 120 days in your body. All right? A healthy red blood cell is supposed to go to your spleen. That's where they get destroyed because remember, it contains hemoglobin. Hem and globin. All right? It's supposed to circulate for 120 days. All right? In that process, new ones are being formed by your bone marrow or by your what they call hematopoietic stem cells. They're still supposed to form new red blood cells, all right, within that 120 days. Your reticulocytes, specifically, all right? They're supposed to mature into red blood cells. So, usually they get destroyed after 120 days in your spleen so that a new red blood cells is reformed even during the process, even during that 120 days, okay? So now in the destruction of these red blood cells, your hem from the hemoglobin is supposed to be broken down to form what is called bilirubin bile. Your bile acid. That's the stuff that you see in your urine that shows yellow color. That's what you see when you go to the restroom to do your number 2 or to poop that looks yellow. Those stuffs are formed from the red blood cells that was dead, already killed in the spleen. All right? They go through some processes all the way in your liver and then stored also in something called gallbladder under your liver. Because from your gallbladder comes down your bile ducts. All right? So if you have sickle cell disease, this process is affected. All right? These C-shaped red blood cells that we read in your spleen, instead of normal red blood cells to go up there to be renovated and being used, all right, they have issues in your spleen. Sometimes it leads to a place whereby your spleen will automatically delete itself and drop off. They got to do surgery to remove it because it already destroyed itself because of that clogging. All right, don't want to go too much into that, but one thing you're going to notice is some people who have, who have sickle cell disease, you're going to notice that sometimes their eyes get yellow. That yellowishness that you see in their eyes, remember I just mentioned before, the hem in the hemoglobin is supposed to be converted to form the yellow substances you see in your urine that makes it yellow, or your stool that makes it yellow, which is bilirubin. Now, guess what? Those who have sickle cell disease, it accumulates in their blood a lot, and guess what happens? It starts showing up in their eyes. All right? It starts showing up in their eyes. Now, it can happen to those who have hepatitis and some other liver disease, but specifically in this case, that's why sickle cell disease patients have that yellow eyes occasionally. All right? Until they'll go through some treatment and it will be cleared away from their system and their eye, the whites of their eye will come back to normal color. All right? All right, keep going.
Health problems such as infections, acute chest syndrome, and stroke.
And stroke. All right, I mentioned before about headache. Headache happens and it can also lead to that stroke. All right, because if a part of your brain is not receiving enough blood like it's supposed to do, it can do what? They can stroke out. Or if it accumulates a lot and causes the blood not to be able to pass through, it can lead to a stage whereby it will burst your artery and you bleed into your brain. that's another way it can cause you a stroke. All right, that's how these sickle-shaped red blood cells can cause complications. All right, so go ahead.
Types of SCD.
That's types of sickle cell disease.
There are several types of SCD.
Mm-hmm.
The specific type of SCD a person has depends on the genes they inherited from their parents.
Read.
People with SCD inherit genes that contain instructions or code for abnormal hemoglobin.
See, this is the stuff that we don't know. And this is how you know how mighty and powerful God is. Read that part again. It said people with SCD.
People with SCD inherit genes.
Inherit genes. Genes are all embedded in all the cells in our body. There are up to millions, billions, trillions, an uncountable amount of cells in our body. And guess what? In all these cells, there are genes, DNAs and RNAs. They carry these genes. But what are those genes? What is in those genes? Read.
That contain instructions.
They contain what?
Instructions.
These genes contain instructions of what they're supposed to do. Now you ask yourself, instructions, who gave those genes those instructions? When you read Genesis chapter 1 about God's creation, where do you think those instructions came from that the genes have? That's God. From the Most High God of Israel. Those instructions can be stored in form of codes. Some of these codes has to come together to form proteins, stuff that your body need. But those instructions are from where? It's always been encoded or embedded in our cells from the beginning. So, it will behoove you to go against God, to sin against God. Because all it takes is an instruction. And what's going to happen? You start going through all forms of illness. Hence, the curses of Deuteronomy 28. Hence, the curses of Deuteronomy 28. So some of us have this trait, all the diseases based off of what? What the science call mutations. Mutations happen, why? Because of instructions. You see that instructions do you right or it does you wrong. But guess what? Both comes from God who made heaven and earth. All right? So when our forefathers were playing in the wilderness or way after that, they don't know what they're asking for. That's why God, go back, Deuteronomy 28, verse 58. Verse 58 again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 58.
Read.
If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book.
That are written in the what?
In this book.
In the laws. If we don't keep the laws of God, go on.
That thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name.
That we may fear God, because he's the one that puts those genetic codes, okay, made up of amino acids, those genetic codes, instructions in your genes, in your cells, in your DNAs, in your nucleus, they came from God. You got to fear God. You got to fear God. Read.
The Lord thy God. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful.
He will make your plagues wonderful. Guess what? We are just studying about sickle cell disease right now. And it's telling you that your genes contain instructions or code for abnormal hemoglobin. So, for your hemoglobin in your red blood cells not functioning well, it's because there's an instruction from God for those group of hemoglobins not to function well. And guess what? Now we are sick and we pass it it came from our parents to our children and to the children throughout our generation. Give me verse, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 45.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 45.
Read.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed.
Till thou be what?
Be destroyed.
Till thou be destroyed. Go on.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Because we didn't what?
Hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Go on.
To keep his commandments.
Go on.
And his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed,
and upon thy what?
and upon thy seed,
Thy children, go on.
forever.
For what?
Forever.
Forever and ever and ever. All right? And ever. That's exactly what we are reading right here. It can go from the parents on to the children. This is just one out of many of those curses. All right, so next. Keep going.
Below are the most common types of SCD, HBSS. People who have this form of SCD inherit two genes, one from each parent. That code
Remember the code has instructions in them. It has genetic instructions in them. That code for what?
Hemoglobin S.
Go on.
Hemoglobin S is an abnormal form of hemoglobin that causes the red blood cells to become rigid and sickle-shaped.
Go on.
This is commonly called sickle cell anemia.
Commonly called what?
Sickle cell anemia.
Go on.
And is usually the most severe form of this disease.
It's usually the most severe form of the disease. All right, next.
HBSC.
Go on.
People who have this form of SCD inherit a hemoglobin S gene from one parent and a gene for a different type of abnormal hemoglobin called C from the other parent.
Go on.
This is usually a milder form of SCD.
This is usually a milder form. So it may not come with all those complications like stroke, acute chest syndrome, but to some level, it will give you some symptom. Sometimes people will have this situation, they may wake up in the morning and when they pee, their pee may look red, like blood. They will pee, it will look like blood. And as day goes by, the color of the urine will change back to normal. All right? Those who have this situation know what I'm talking about. All right, next one.
HBS beta thalassemia.
So this is beta thalassemic disease. This is very, very, very dangerous too. Go on.
People who have this form of SCD inherit a hemoglobin S gene from one parent and a gene for beta thalassemia.
Read.
Another type of hemoglobin abnormality from the other parent. There are two types of beta thalassemia.
Go on.
0 SBS beta and plus SBS beta.
Go on.
Those with SBS beta thalassemia usually have a severe form of SCD.
So those who have the 0 form, HBS beta, the 0 form, is more severe. Go on.
People who have HBS beta plus thalassemia tend to have a milder form of SCD.
Tend to have a milder form of SCD, all right? These are common blood cell or red blood cell disorder kids can inherit from their dad or from their mom or together. And sometimes, or most cases, especially the severe form, they can lead to the children ending up where? In the hospital lots of time. They keep visiting the hospital over and over and over. The parents keep taking them to the hospital at least once or twice a year. Why? Because they're going through some complications. All right? Especially because, what they call it? Sickle cell disease, sometimes in a very cold environment, they go through it. It gets bad in a cold environment for them. When it's hot, it also affects them. All right? Both conditions makes their health situation bad. Very, very bad. All right? All right. So,
cause of SCD. SCD is a genetic condition that is present at birth.
Is this what?
Is present at birth.
Go back to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Read Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 18.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 18. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body.
Read that again.
Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body.
Say cursed. Cursed. So God is putting out curse upon the fruit of our body. What's that going into? The children. The children that our mothers conceive. God is putting a curse in form of what? Instruction, in this case, into their cells, into their codes, into the genetic codes because of what? Sin. Sin. Sin of our forefathers. Read it one more time.
Curse shall be thy fruit of thy body.
Read.
And the fruit of thy land.
Go on.
The increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep.
So that's the part that I wanted. That part, verse 18. Verse 18. Now read verse 19.
Verse 19.
Mm-hmm.
Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in,
Mm-hmm.
and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
Just like when we are being born. All right? All right. So go back to what you're reading on the screen.
Cause of SCD.
Mm-hmm.
SCD is a genetic condition
Mm-hmm.
that is present at birth.
Present at birth. Fruits of thy body. Cause shall be the fruits of thy body. All right? Go on.
It is inherited when a child receives two genes.
It is inherited where a child is what?
Receives two genes.
One from the mom, one from the dad. All right? One from the mom, one from the dad. Sometimes it can be a situation whereby a father may have AA or the mother may have AA, which is normal, and the other spouse may have SS. So if one of the parents has normal gene and the other has SS, meaning the disease, most definitely, none of the kids will have any form of sickle cell disease. None of them will have. They will all be AS. I mean, they will all be traits. But if one of them have AS, which is a trait, and the other has SS, guess what? One of them definitely is going to have, or two of them, depending on how many kids, two out of those will have the sickle cell disease, all right? So these always happen with two parents, not from one, because it's a recessive disease, not a dominant disease. Because dominant diseases can come from one parent. It doesn't have to be two. It can just go from one parent to the other parents. All right? All right, go on.
One from each parent.
Mm-hmm.
That code for abnormal hemoglobin.
That code for abnormal what?
Hemoglobin.
Abnormal hemoglobin. All right, so now let's go into... Yeah, read the diagnosis.
Diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
SCD is diagnosed with a simple blood test.
Go on.
In children born in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
it most often is found at birth doing routine newborn screening tests at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, SCD can be diagnosed while the baby is in the womb.
So technology has improved to that level right now. All right, go on.
Diagnostic tests before the baby is born, such as chronic villus sampling and
Amniocentesis.
amniocentesis.
So chorionic villus sampling, they usually do that, whereby the doctor, they will use an ultrasound. They will put an ultrasound, and then they will put something through the pregnant mother's stomach. They will put a needle. All right, they will go in, and they will take some of your chorionic villus in the womb. All right, in the womb. It's not going to touch the child. They're not touching the child. They will take some of that sample, and they will use it to test to see what genes or defective genes, I would say, your child may have. Sometimes it can be them testing for Patau syndrome, Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome, Williams syndrome, whatever syndrome, all those chromosomal disorders, all right? Amniocentesis is similar. They just take your amniotic fluid, all right? They just take the amniotic fluid because amniotic fluid comes from the baby, all right? Go on.
Can check for chromosomal or genetic abnormalities in the baby.
All right, go on.
Chronic villus sampling tests a tiny piece of placenta.
See that? A tiny piece of the placenta is what they take. Go on.
Called chronic villus.
Which is called chorionic villus, all right? Chorionic villus. Go on.
Amniocentesis tests a small sample of amniotic fluid surrounding the baby.
Surrounding the baby, all right? So that's how they can test to find out if your child has it or not before the child is born. All right? All right, you can scroll down. Let me see. Scroll down. Let me see. Stop. All right. So read general prevention strategies. Now, there's a reason why I want to read this, because there's something that is not here that they are not teaching, especially in our community. Don't wait for the white man to come and teach you this. It's our job, our duty to educate ourselves on these genetic diseases so that we can mitigate or control the growth of these diseases in our community. All right? Read from our general prevention strategies.
General prevention strategies. Management of SCD is focused on preventing and treating pain episodes and other complications.
Read.
Prevention strategies include lifestyle behaviors,
as
well as medical screening and interventions to prevent SCD complications.
That's all I needed here. So see something that they didn't bring out here. They didn't mention genetic counseling. They did not mention it. This is a disease common amongst our people. But why are they not talking about black people, Hispanic people? Y'all need to be doing genetic counseling. Y'all need to make sure that you are not just being compatible because of your love, your emotion, your feelings, or whatever you like or whatever you dislike. Compatible to the level of your cells. They didn't mention it here. Who does he make money for when our people get sick with this? He makes money for them. So why would they tell you what can help them? What can help us, I would say. Why would they tell you about something, as a matter of fact, something that will help them make more money? How would they tell you, how would they show you a way to avoid it? They won't, because everything they just mentioned here is what's going to happen after you already have a child with those diseases. So we need to pay attention. We need to pay attention to what we are doing when we're trying to go into marriage. All right? Make sure that we are doing what? Educating ourselves on these genetic diseases. Sickle cell is just one. There are so many of them that affect our people predominantly. This is just one. All right? We need to make sure, because it's a general prevention strategy. You know how they say in the word, prevention is better than what? Cure. Prevention is better than cure. So why didn't they apply that? That's their word. That's what they say. Why didn't they apply that? Why doesn't that apply when it comes to black and Hispanic? Why didn't they put it in this article or in this text? All right, so you can drop that. So this is what a blood of someone with sickle cell disease looks like. All right, you will see the normal red blood cells. Those are the ones that are round or oval. And then you see the sickled ones. Those are the ones that are not complete. Yes, those ones are very... Red blood cells usually... red blood cells are sticky, of course. But these ones are very sticky. Red blood cells can be sticky, especially in a pathologic condition, all right? But these sickled ones, they are very sticky that they can clog up your artery and affect blood flow to your organs, or through your organs, I would say. All right, so that's an example of what it looks like. Now scroll down. Symptoms.
Symptoms. Symptoms of sickle cell anemia usually appear around 6 months of age. They vary from person to person and may change over time.
Go on.
Symptoms can include anemia.
So anemia. So let's see what it says about anemia. Go on.
Sickle cells break apart easily and die. Typical red blood cells.
So typical normal red blood cell. Remember I mentioned about a life cycle or how long a normal red blood cell lasts. So you're going to see it right here. Read.
Usually live for about 120 days.
Read.
Before they need to be replaced.
Before your body replaces them. All right. Remember I mentioned it takes up to 120 days. Then it goes to your spleen. That's what they call spleen, the graveyard of red blood cells. They go over there to be what? Destroyed, and these components, which is the hem, will be used, and the globin will be used for some other stuff that your body needs. All right, go on.
But sickle cells usually die in 10 to 20 days.
So that means what? They die quicker than they're supposed to. Now, guess what? The yellow parts that the body forms, that comes out in your stool or in your urine, it starts forming in a tremendous way. Tremendously, all right? Now you have all this accumulation of bilirubin that goes all the way up and is seen in the white parts of your eyes. Go on.
Leaving a shortage of red blood cells. This is known as anemia.
So those shortage is what can cause some of the pains that people go through who have sickle cell. There's something called a vascular necrosis. So that necrosis, it mostly occurs in the bone joint around, like in the head of your femur, around your hip, all right? That pain, or sometimes people have it in their knee, people have it in their shoulder. That pain is one of the worst pain any person can experience. I have not experienced it, but those who have will tell you that. So why does that necrosis happen? Necrosis means cell death, all right? He's talking about cell death. Why? Because it's not receiving those oxygen that is needed for survival. So if you're not receiving those oxygen and the nutrients, guess what? That part starts dying. And it's mostly the bones, these heads of the bones. All right, they start dying and they start causing pain. All right, go on.
Without enough red blood cells, the body can't get enough oxygen.
Go on.
This causes fatigue.
It causes fatigue. Go on.
Episodes of pain. Periodic episodes of extreme pain called pain crisis are a major symptom of sickle cell anemia.
Go on.
Pain develops when sickle cell-shaped red blood cells block blood flow.
See that? They impede the flow of blood. Go on.
Through tiny blood vessels
Go on.
to the chest.
That's what leads to what's called acute chest syndrome. They start feeling all kinds of pain around the chest. Sometimes can mimic a form of pain people have when they have pneumonia. Go on.
Abdomen and joints.
Abdominal pain and joints. Abdominal pain can be mostly in your left side. Not only the left side, but mostly in your left side where you have your spleen. It can also be in your intestine that can lead to something called acute mesenteric ischemia, meaning due to impeding of the blood flow, those parts of your intestine not receiving blood will start what? Dying off. Go on.
The pain varies in intensity and can last for a few hours to a few days. Some people have only a few pain crises a year.
Go on.
Others have a dozen or more a year. A severe pain crisis requires a hospitable stay.
Go on.
Some people with sickle cell anemia also have chronic pain.
Remember, we just read in Deuteronomy chapter, hold that. Go back to Deuteronomy 28. We're not going to leave Deuteronomy 28 for some time. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 59.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 59. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance.
And of what?
And of long continuance.
And of what?
And of long continuance.
That's exactly what we just read. He says some people with sickle cell anemia also have chronic. Chronic means long-term issues. Long-term pain. Go on.
And sore sicknesses.
And sore. They will feel sore, like he said, chronic pain from bone and joint damage. The soreness the scripture tells you about here, example of that is what we just seen on the screen, bone and joint damage, chronic pain, sore pain from bone and joint damage. Go on.
And of long continuance.
And of long continuance, meaning chronic. So go back to this article again. Some people
with sickle cell anemia also have chronic pain from bone and joint damage.
From bone and joint damage. Go on.
Ulcers.
It can lead to ulcers.
And other causes.
And other causes. Go on.
Swelling of the hands and feet. Sickle-shaped red blood cells block blood circulation in the hands and feet.
That's what it does. It just accumulates together. Those sickle red blood cells accumulate together, form a clog, and they start affecting blood flow. They just block the flow. It's just like clogging up a pipe. All right? Clogging up a pipe. It just clogs up the way blood flow is supposed to go. Now, those places don't receive blood like they're supposed to. All right? All kinds of complications start coming out. Go on.
Which can cause them to swell.
Cause them to swell. Next.
Frequent infections.
Frequent infection. Now, pay attention. This will concern your spleen.
The spleen is important for protecting against infections.
Right, because the spleen takes part in formation of, it's part of what you call, together with lymph nodes, they take part in your immune system, to form your immune system, or build up your immune system, I would say, all right? Those so something they call B cells, T cells, all the stuff. Go on.
Sickle cells can damage the spleen, raising the risk of developing infections.
See that? Go on.
Babies and children with sickle cell anemia commonly receive vaccinations.
They commonly have to put them on vaccinations, like the flu vaccination, the flu pneumonia vaccination, all right? They got to put them on these vaccinations because of what? Because what's helping the fight infection has been affected. All right, go on.
And antibiotics to prevent potentially life-threatening infections, such as pneumonia.
See that, such as pneumonia. I just mentioned the pneumonia vaccine. All right, not just pneumonia, but also flu. All right, now that we have COVID, probably COVID also. Go on.
Delayed growth or puberty.
Go on.
Red blood cells provide the body with the oxygen and nutrients needed for growth. A shortage of healthy red blood cells can slow growth in babies and children and delay puberty in teenagers.
Go on.
Vision problems. Tiny blood vessels that supply blood to the eyes can become plugged with sickle cells. This can damage the portion of the eye that processes visual images, called the retina.
Because the retina has what's called the rods and cones, all right, that helps with color perception for your eye. So the damage of that will lead to visual problems. Go on.
And lead to vision problems.
And lead to vision problems. Now, drop that. Hold on. Let me see. So remember, this is all about what? We're talking about genetic diseases. Now, let's see. Go to the book of Leviticus chapter 21. Let's see if the Bible spoke about genetic diseases. All right, some of these stuff we're about to read is genetic diseases. All can spring from genetic disease. Read the book of Leviticus chapter 21, start from verse 16.
Leviticus chapter 21 and verse 16.
Read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron, saying, Whosoever he be of thy seed in their generations that had any blemish.
So see what the scripture called it? Blemish. All right? That's your genetic chromosomal disorders. Whether it's inherited or acquired. That's some diseases, of course, acquired. But in this case, we are focusing on chromosomal or inherited or genetic diseases. Read one more time.
Speak unto Aaron, saying, Whosoever he be of thy seed in their generations that had any blemish, let him not approach to offer the bread of his God.
Let him not approach offer the bread of his God. Because these stuff started affecting Israel because of what? Breaking God's commandments. If we hadn't done these all the way from the time we kept the laws of God, the Lord wouldn't allow this to happen to us. But now, we're breaking God's law all the way from there to now. That's why these stuff are happening to us. Verse 18.
For whatsoever man he be that had a blemish, he shall not approach.
Go on.
A blind man.
Now stop. You're going to see a blind man. Remember we just read in sickle cell disease that it can lead to blurry vision. And what do you think happens when it gets untreated? Especially if you're living in a low socioeconomic or you belong to a low socioeconomic class. That's common amongst our people. They can afford health care. What do you think is going to happen most likely? That blurry vision can lead to what? Blindness. It can lead to blindness, just like it happens to people who have diabetes, because diabetes is also common amongst the blacks. The type 1 diabetes, because it's a genetic disease. It can come up in a form of genetic disease, all right? Diabetes type 1, not type 2, type 1. It can lead to also what? Blindness. Read that again. A blind man.
A blind man or a lame or he that had a flat nose.
Flat nose, that's what you see in people who have all these type of diseases like he's not talking about the normal Negro nose. No, he's not talking about that. It is not talking about it. It's talking about the flat nose that you see in those who have genetic diseases like all this Patau syndrome, Down syndrome, people who are born with inherited disease, chromosomal disease because probably their mom was drinking alcohol when they were pregnant. All right, there's so many diseases, genetic diseases that can lead to this. All right, it's not talking about the normal black people nose. Don't misconstrue that. Go on.
Or anything superfluous.
Or anything superfluous. Superfluous go into people who have extra finger, extra toes. In medicine, they call it polydactyl. All right, polydactylis. Go on.
Or a man that is broken-footed or broken-handed.
Broken-footed, broken-handed. You can see sometimes people being born with a condition called phocomelia. I think that's what it's called, if I remember. Phocomelia. They can come out with hand being short than it's supposed to be, or the feet short, or it's broken during delivery. All right, go on.
Or crooked back.
Crooked back, going into hunchbacks, different kinds of hunchbacks, like kyphoscoliosis and all the stuff. All right, scoliosis. Go on.
Or a dwarf.
Or a dwarf, which you see also in people who may have Williams syndrome. All right, Williams syndrome, they can be dwarfed. So dwarfism, you're going to see that like commonly. You have this condition, like this guy that's in Game of Thrones, Peter Dinklage, that's his name. He has something called achondroplasia. Achondroplasia, all right, whereby your long bones are not growing to a normal proportion like they're supposed to grow. Every other part of your body is growing, like your head is growing into a normal shape, all right? But your limbs, like your arm and your feet, they are not growing into that. Or even some people who have cretinism, people who have congenital thyroid issue, all right? They tend to have this issue, cretinism, dwarfism, this problem, all right? Go on.
Or that had a blemish in his eye.
Blemish in the eye. It can be all kinds of blindness and any other form of genetic situation that can occur and affect the eye, whereby they cannot see well. You can see some of that in something called Marfan syndrome. All right, go on.
Or be scurvy.
Or scurvy. Scurvy. All right, scurvy. I think it's most like associated today with people who have vitamin C deficiency. Go on.
Or scab.
Scab, that goes into your skin. Scabbed in your skin. Go on.
Or had his stones broken.
I remember the skin. I mentioned something called neurofibromatosis 1 or 2. They tend to have skin issues. They have lots of swelling all over their skin, all right? Their skin can be blemished a lot. Go on.
No man that had a blemish of the seed of Aaron, the priest shall come nigh to offer the offerings of the Lord made by fire.
Go on.
He had a blemish. He shall not come nigh to offer the bread of his God.
So back in the day, that was the law the Lord gave us. This is totally going into those who have these issues. And I know I didn't speak on this, but he said had his stones broken. Because you're going to read about it in Deuteronomy. It can be going to war, climbing in a house, all that stuff, all right? So such people cannot come before the Lord to offer of the seed of Aaron. These are examples of what? Genetic disorders or chromosomal disorders. Now, let's look into this pedigree. All right? This goes into sickle cell. That's our main topic today. So when you look at the top, okay, when you look at the top, the middle part, first of all, the middle one. So the middle one is a SC, sickle cell. That's SC. That's what SC means. Sickle cell father, sickle cell mother. That's a disaster waiting to happen. That's a huge disaster. See all the kids? All the kids have sickle cell. So now let's say all of them have complication at the same time. Who's going to help with each other? Who's going to help the other? Nobody. All right? Nobody. Let's say stroke happens to the father and the mom. Now the kids will become what? Orphans. All right, so there's so many issues that can come from that. But it's always good to educate the people who have this illness. Hey, this is what it entails. This is what's going to happen if they come to for genetic counseling, which is very important for those of us who are proven. Make sure you seek genetic counseling, all right? Seek genetic counseling because that can be you. These can be you, all right? The kids are jacked up. You are jacked up. Your wife is jacked up. Everybody's jacked up. All right? But there is a way out. Even if you have sickle cell disease, if you have SC or what they call SS, is the same. Is only if you want to avoid having any sickle cell babies, the only person you can marry is somebody who has what? AA or a normal gene. All right? And that's what you're going to see when we go through this whole pedigree chart, all right? So let's start with the top left. So the top left, what you see on the left is what? A trait. When you go down, when you go all the way down, you will see below it say T stand for trait, N stand for normal, SC stands for sickle cell disease, all right? So top left, you have somebody who has a trait, meaning the person is carrying a gene that relates to sickle cell. It's not showing the symptom, but it's carrying a trait in the gene or the instruction for that, all right, in the gene, all right? The other one is the wife has a normal gene, meaning it's AA. And when I mean A, I'm talking about big A's, all right? He has a normal gene. Or A, no, not big A, sorry. One big A, one small A. You don't need to know what it is. It doesn't matter. All you just need to know is normal. Has a normal gene, and the husband has what? Has a problem. All right, the husband has a problem in the gene. It's just not showing through symptoms, signs, or complication. Now they both have kids. All right, so they have kids. The first one came out normal. That's what you see normal. All right, on the right side, on the right of that, when you go down, point it. For that top left, see the first child on the one on the right. That one, yes, came out normal. So guess what? That means the A from the dad mixed up with the A from the mom to give you that first child. The second child is also normal. That means the A from the dad mixed up with the A from the mom to give the second one. Now, the third one, the S from the dad mixed up with the A from the mom, because remember, the mom has two A's. Those two A's are normal. So it gives an AS. That's what you see, the trait, the third child, and also the fourth child. All right? So what's that saying? This is a counsel I'm going to give to y'all. If you have a normal sickle cell gene, meaning you don't have it at all, you don't have sickle cell disease, you don't have any traits, guess what? You can marry whoever you want to marry. You can marry whoever you want, all right? You can marry somebody who have the disease. You can marry somebody who have the traits. None of your kids will have the disease. They may have a trait, but they will never have a disease. Now, you can even marry somebody who have the same gene like you, which is normal. None of you're not going to even worry about this at all, whether it be trait or disease. And remember, even if you have the trait, it doesn't mean that you have a disease. People who have trait, 99.9% of times doesn't show any disease at all. 100, meaning 100%. They don't have any disease or complication or symptom. Even the red urine I spoke about in the beginning, it's not going to cause them any pain or harm or nothing. All right? So the second one, which is the second pedigree, which is the lower one on the bottom left. The bottom left. So you see a father who is full-blown sickle cell man. All right? A full-blown sickle cell man or woman, if you want to get married, to avoid any of these problems, make sure you marry a man or a woman who does not have a trait at all, who doesn't have a trait or have the disease. If you want to avoid any complication or problem or signs or symptoms or hospital bills, and you have a sickle cell disease, make sure whoever you marry, when you go to do that blood test after genetic counseling, because genetic counseling, they're supposed to ask you questions, history, what runs in your family, and they will do blood test, all right? What is called a hemoglobin S testing, another one called hemoglobin electrophoresis. Hemoglobin electrophoresis. I will show it later on, all right? So these are the stuff you need to do before getting married to make sure that you guys are not going to give birth to kids that will be seriously affected by a long-term illness till they die, all right? If you have sickle cell, make sure, and sickle cell means SS or SC, make sure whoever you marry has no trait or no disease. Their gene is totally normal when it comes to sickle cell, all right? To avoid what we're seeing at the bottom left. No, not bottom left. To avoid what we see at the central part, which is both husband or wife having sickle cell, all right? Or avoid having children who have sickle cell at all. So again, if you have sickle cell disease, make sure you marry somebody who doesn't have any of the problem, meaning they don't have a trait and they don't have the disease, especially they don't have the disease, all right? Because even with somebody who have a trait, there's a chance that you're still going to have a baby with a sickle cell disease because there's S on that trait. So your double S can mix up with the S and give you 2 kids at least who have sickle cell. All right. If you don't understand, don't worry about it. Just do genetic counseling. That will help you out. All right? Next one, top right. So top right meaning what? Both parents have the traits, meaning they are carrying the traits. Now, what does that mean? They are not showing the symptom or complications, but they have the trait in their cell or in their DNA or in their gene. So now they both marry each other. AS and AS. My advice, if you're an AS, you're a trait, marry an AA. Don't marry an AS because there is a high chance that you're going to have a child with sickle cell. That's 25% chance because when you look at this chart, each kid counts for what? 25%. All right? Which adds up to what? 100 with 4. 25 times 4 is 100. So that's why I say 25% chance you're going to have 25% chance of having a kid with sickle cell disease. My bad. All right? So the best thing, if you have a trait, if you don't know, go do a test. Go do a genetic counsel. Tell them you want to find out if you have a sickle cell trait. They will do the test for you. If you are AS, guess what? Make sure that whoever you marry is an AA. All right? Just to avoid headache. Now, if you marry an AS, you're going to have a child with sickle cell disease. If you marry an SS, that's a whole bunch of issues right there. You're going to have 2 with sickle cell disease. And that's what we were looking at the bottom right. The father has sickle cell disease and the mother has a trait. All right? So, see, 50% of the kid has sickle cell disease and the other 50% has what? The trait. All right? Has the trait. So, this is very, very important. And this is just one out of many genetic diseases. This is one out of many genetic diseases, all right? Now, give me that link, the one that you put up first. Let's see. It goes into the testing, all right? Test that you must do is part of your what? Your genetic counseling. Sickle cell test. Get tested, all right? It says sickle cell tests, also known as hemoglobin S, HBS, HGBS is the same thing. HBS, all right? HBS, HGBS, and hemoglobin S, all right? Go get yourself tested to be sure, all right, to see if you are a trait. If you are a trait, the only woman you're going to have to marry just to avoid any possibility, if you're an AS, you're a trait, marry an AA woman, meaning what? When they do that genotype test or electrophoresis or all those tests that you see here, when they do it, the woman is going to have an AA, meaning normal. No S at all in the gene. So as to avoid any possibility of having a child with this illness, all right? Scroll down, read that.
Why get tested? To determine if you have sickle cell trait or sickle cell disease.
See that? Why do you get tested in genetic counseling? It's just to see if you have the trait or the disease. All right? That's what you need to do. And again, it's common amongst our people. All right? Do that before you get married. Do that before you get married. All right. Sample required.
Sample required. A blood sample drawn from a vein in your arm or for infants by pricking a heel or finger.
All right, scroll down. So they're going to take your blood. They're going to take your blood. Go on. What is being tested?
What is being tested? Sickle cell anemia is an inherited disorder that leads to the production of an abnormal type of hemoglobin called hemoglobin S, HBS, or HGBS.
Go on.
Sickle cell tests determine the presence and relative amount of hemoglobin S in a blood sample or detect mutations.
Or detect what?
Mutations.
Mutations, instructions. Go on.
In the genes that produce hemoglobin to help diagnose sickle cell anemia and or identify people with sickle cell traits.
That's why you are being tested, to help diagnose sickle cell anemia or identify people with sickle cell. But 9 out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, if you have the disease, you will know. You will definitely know because you're going to have signs and symptoms. Most people who may not know are the people who don't have any sign any symptom or complication. But there might be traits. There might be a trait, and they go and marry somebody else who is a trait because they are not taking this counsel to check on themselves. And then they might end up with a child that has sickle cell disease. All right? And it's going to stress you out. It's going to stress you out. So let's make sure that we check these stuffs out. So take that off. Brothers and sisters, let's make sure that we are testing, especially if you don't know if you're a trait. People who have SS, they know. You definitely may have had some type of symptoms because he says from the age of 6 months, the symptoms can start showing up. But now you ask yourself, why not before the age of 6 months? Because there's some type of hemoglobin called fetal hemoglobin that children have when they are born. That hemoglobin depletes when they get to the age of 6 months. That hemoglobin helps to prevent the child or the baby from developing any form of symptom. But once they start getting around the age of 6 months, it will start going down, and the other type of hemoglobin start coming up, which is related to the adult hemoglobin. All right? It starts coming up. So once that one depletes, the other one goes up. Now you are caught up in health situations, all right? You're caught up in some health detriments. So that's why before 6 months, they don't have any symptoms at all. Now, scientists, they try to use those fetal hemoglobin samples to help treat or heal the people who may have these issues, all right? Because it combats sickle cell on its own. That's from God, all right? Now let's go into scriptures. Now let's start from Sirach chapter 41. This is related to what we just read in Deuteronomy chapter 28, all right? So go to Sirach chapter 41, start from verse 8.
Sirach chapter 41 and verse 8.
Read.
Woe be unto you, ungodly men.
Because remember, God told us if we break his commandments, he will put these sicknesses, curses on us. That will be for a long continuation. Even the ones that you've never heard of that's not in the Bible. All right? So now he's saying, woe be unto you, ungodly men. Because what? To be ungodly, you got to be breaking God's commandments. Read.
Which have forsaken the law of the Most High God.
Which have what?
Forsaken the law of the Most High God.
Which have forsaken the laws of God, broke God's commandment to attract the curses of Deuteronomy 28 upon themselves. Go on.
For if ye increase, it shall be to your destruction.
Because if you have kids, it will be to your destruction. All right? But God is showing us mercy, through science, to detect this stuff, just like Christ did in Luke 21, when he said, when we see Jerusalem become past, flee into the mountain. That's a curse that was already put, but that was a moment of mercy for Christ to tell our people, our forefathers then, hey, when you see this stuff happening, you need to run. You need to run. He could have just not said anything and let them pay for their sins. But that was mercy. That's how God is. God is merciful, full of mercy. All right, read up out again.
Woe be unto you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High God.
Read.
For if ye increase, it shall be to your destruction. And if ye be born.
And if you what?
And if ye be born.
Fruit of thy body coming in. If you be born.
Ye shall be born to a curse.
You shall be born to a what?
To a curse.
Deuteronomy 28. The sins of our forefathers continue throughout the generation. The curses that came with it also. And guess what? The diseases, the judgment, the plagues that's not written in the book also came along. Go on.
And if ye die.
And if you die due to complications.
A curse shall be your portion.
A curse shall be your portion. All right? A curse shall be your portion. Now, drop that. This is now where this comes in. Because, one thing with our people, and it is so funny, we are the ones that have majority of these inherited diseases, even acquired ones. It's commonly amongst the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who are the true Israelites. They're real Jews. They're real Jews, all right? We have majority of these illnesses, but we are the ones that mostly reject healthcare, reject seeing the doctor. Even if, yeah, we may have low socioeconomic, we may belong to low socioeconomic class, but sometimes we have opportunities to be treated. Even free treatments. All right? Even free treatments, many of us don't want to take to help ourselves or help our kids. And I understand that many of our people don't trust the doctors because of what we've been through. But we got to be wise. We got to be wise when it comes to things like this. All right? When it comes to things like this, we got to be wise about our health. All right? Because we want to get the best help, especially when we have the disease itself of sickle cell. When you have the sickle cell disease, that's what you want. You want that help. That will help take care of the complication or take care of the signs and symptoms. All right? Give me Sirach. Sirach chapter 18, start from verse 19.
Sirach chapter 18, verse 19.
Read.
Learn before thou speak.
Say what?
Learn before thou speak.
Go on.
And use psychic or ever thou be sick.
Read that one more time because it just ties into what I just said right now. Read.
Learn before thou speak. And use psychic or ever thou be sick.
And use physic. That physic is talking about physician. It's talking about physician. All right? He said, learn before thou speak. Don't speak on something that you don't know because that's what's very common amongst our people. Somebody's going through stage 4 cancer, stage 3 cancer, stage 2 late cancer, and somebody's telling them to take black seed oil. Somebody's telling them, no, you don't have to go to the doctor. I have a herbal concussion for you. Knowing that we are under the curses of Deuteronomy 28. I can see somebody in the world making a mistake, but you that is in this truth, you understand what we are dealing with. We are under these curses of Deuteronomy 28. So, how potent you think the herb is going to do for you when the disease is already into the severe form? Now, I can understand if it's in the beginning stage, or you're doing it for prevention, and you're going to herbal, I can totally understand that. But don't speak on something that you don't know. Leave it alone for the professionals. Leave it alone for the professionals. Stop giving medical advice you don't have knowledge about. Read it one more time.
Learn before thou speak.
Do not speak on what you don't know. Learn. Go to school. Do medical school, nursing school. Especially in this case, it's usually doctors or maybe pharmacists that have a more better knowledge on treatments of stuff. All right? Nurses may have to some limited extent, but then they can gain that experience working in the hospital also because of them putting in the order that applying the order that the doctors put in. They can learn one or two things around. All right? You got to go to school, have the background on this before you speak on it. Don't be an internet doctor. You're going to kill people. You would mess people's life up. Read that again.
Learn before thou speak.
Because even some parents do that. They will go on the internet, read on stuff, and start applying it to their children. Their children's condition get worse. We need to stop being like that. It's common in the black and Hispanic community. We need to stop that. Read it one more time again.
Learn before thou speak.
Read.
And use physics.
And use what?
And use physics.
Use physicians. Whether it be Western doctors or herbal physicians. Use them. That's why God created them. And I'm going to read on that. Go on.
Or ever thou be sick.
Or you're going to be sick. You're going to be everly sick. Or you going to be everly sick. Drop that because of what we just read. Use the physician. Go to Sirach. It just came up in my mind. Sirach, I want to say it's 38. Start from verse 1.
Sirach chapter 38 and verse 1.
Read.
Honor a physician.
Say what?
Honor a physician.
He said, honor a physician, meaning what? A man that is well learned in medicine and have the experience, the background. Okay, go on.
With the honor due unto him.
With the what?
With the honor due unto him.
With the honor that is due unto him. Go on.
For the uses which ye may have of him.
Because for the uses, that's why the scripture tells you to use him. Read it one more time.
Honor a physician with the honor due unto him.
Go on.
For the usage which ye may have of him.
For the uses. That's what we just read in the Sirach 18. Okay, you got to use the physicians. Whether it be herbal, whether it be Western. You got to know the right time too. You got to know the right time. You don't wait till you have blood pressure 200 and something, 180 something, 170 something, and now you want to go to herbal and you never eaten a vegetable in your life. You never touched vegetable in your life. Now you want to go to a herbalist. Read.
For the Lord had created him.
Because who?
For the Lord had created him.
Because the Lord himself created him, gave them the knowledge. All right? Go on.
For of the Most High cometh healing.
First and foremost, that's what we need to understand. We got to always go to the Most High first. All right? We got to always make sure we go to the Most High God first. Especially us in this faith who know. Go to the Lord first. Talk to him. Speak to him. That's our Heavenly Father. He will give you the best treatment that you need through the doctor. They will not treat you wrong. They will help you and do you right because what? You already prayed unto the Lord. The Lord himself will direct their heart. Okay? The Lord himself will direct their heart or their mind. Go on.
And he shall receive honor of the king.
The doctor will receive the honor, all right? The honor, of course, always go to the Most High because he's our king. He shall receive the honor of the king. Go on.
The skill of the physician shall lift up his head.
Go on.
And in the sight of great men he shall be in admiration.
In the sight of great men. All right. A doctor in the sight of great men. A nurse in the sight of great men. A herbalist doctor in the sight of great men will have what? Shall be
in admiration.
They will be in admiration. Why? Because they are being used by the Lord to help the people, to serve the people. All right? Give me Sirach chapter 10, verse 10. We read in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 59 about the long-term disease, which is chronic disease. All right? And the scripture tells you to use the physician. Use the physician. Don't listen to people who tell you not to go to a Western doctor. Do not listen to them. You got to know at what level of illness you are to not go to them. You have to know that, all right? Know when to go to a herbalist doctor. Know when to go to a Western medicine doctor. Know when to go also to a chiropractic doctor because that's part of what? Alternative medicine, all right? These three different doctors I mentioned, know when to go to them. They are all doctors. Use them. The Lord created them for your own benefit, all right? Give me that. Sirach chapter 10, verse 10. Yes, Sirach chapter 10, verse 10.
Sirach chapter 10, verse 10.
Go on.
The physician cutteth off a long disease.
Read that again.
The physician cutteth off a long disease.
See that? A physician, the Lord uses them, all right? That's why he gives them the knowledge, put them through school and give them that knowledge. He can do what? Use them to cut off your long-term disease. That's why we are telling you right now, you have a doctor telling you right now about genetic counseling. Sickle cell disease is a long-term disease. And to cut it off, you need to do a genetic counseling before getting married. That's your preventive measure for you that will benefit you. So you don't have to live the rest of your life always sleeping in the hospital because of your kid or your children. And not just sickle cell disease, there's some other genetic diseases, all right, or genetic disorders. Read that one more time.
The physician cutteth off a long disease.
And sometimes it can be a remedy that will help you with the pain that you're going through, all right, when you have, in this case, the sickle cell disease or the pain crisis. They can help you with some medication to cut off the pain. It can be even a herbal doctor helping you out, all right? It can also be a herbalist help you out with the pain, especially those who are used to herbal medicine from childhood. Read it again.
The physician cutteth off a long disease.
Read.
And he that is today a king, tomorrow shall die.
He that is a king today, tomorrow shall die. Okay, that's all I need from there. Go back to Sirach 38. Read verse 4.
Sirach chapter 38 and verse 4. The Lord had created medicines out of the earth.
Read.
And he that is wise will not abhor
If
them.
you're wise, you will not abhor medicine. All right, you will not abhor it. Now we have the traditional or the herbal medicine that was created out of the earth, from the herbs, okay? From the herbs, even from the sand, yes, the sand, the clay that comes from the earth. You can make medicine from those. Okay, I've seen that because, you know, sometimes we make mockery of some of these African countries or even our brothers in Haiti having some stuff like clay or stuff on their skin. Some of you do not know that those things can make somebody's pimple go away. It can make their acne go away. It can even make their skin become smooth. It can make it even be very smooth. All right, it can even help heal some boils that you have in your face. The sand that you see, yes, sand, the soil. Some of it has healing properties when it's mixed with some other stuff, or clay. They have healing properties. It's just like clay, for example. Clay is very rich. There's a type of clay that's very rich in what you call calcium, which is very good for your teeth, very good for your bone, and good for your muscles too. You may see somebody eating a clay, and they be like, oh, no, something is wrong with him. You just don't know. You don't know. You're just ignorant. You were just ignorant. All right? And I'm just going to, move the goalpost a little bit. You see Christ? Give me that. All right, so let's go to the book of John, and I'm going to give example of that. Now, I'm not saying there's not some power, heavenly power, or divine power mixed up here. I'm not saying there's not, because we know, according to John chapter 3, Christ has the fullness of God power in him. He is the power of God, the power of the Most High, according to 1 Corinthians 1:24. But I need you to pay attention to something here. I'm not saying go and apply this. You are not in that level. But some people, and I'm saying this because I've seen it, some people, even in third world countries, our forefathers, foremothers, grandmothers, granddaddies who are still alive today, make use of the clays, the soil, mix it up with some stuff from a tree, from a plant, and they use it for healing. All right? I want to show something here. Give me John chapter 9, start from verse 1.
John chapter 9 and verse 1. And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth.
Read.
And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents,
Read.
that he was born blind? Jesus answered, Neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him.
The works of God may be made manifest in him. That's why I said there's some divine or divinity involved in this. Go on.
I must work the works of him that sent me.
Read.
While it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world.
So he said the night cometh when no man can work. This goes all into us falling into captivity. Go on.
When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground.
See that? He spat on the ground.
And made clay of the spittle.
Made clay out of the spittle. So he spit it on the ground, spat on the ground, and mix it up. Again, I'm not saying you should go and do this. I'm not saying you should go and do this. I'm just showing that clay has some healing properties in it. And it's on the floor. Sometimes some of the ground that we walk on, we don't know there is clay underneath the soil. It just may take some whirlwind to come and dig in, or digging in literally, mechanical works, to see that there is clay underneath. All right? Read verse 6 again.
When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle. And he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. And he said unto him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by the interpretation sent. He went his way thereof, therefore, and washed and came seeing.
And came seeing. All right, go back to Sirach 38. Read verse 4 again. Sirach chapter 38, verse 4.
Sirach chapter 38 and verse 4. The Lord had created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them.
And he that is wise will not abhor him. Imagine being around Christ and you seeing spit on the floor. Mix it up. Man, people around him, they will be grossed by that. But that's him applying, using what he created together with his power to heal this man. All right? So jump down to verse 6.
Verse 6. And he had given men skill, that he might be honored in his marvelous works.
Now, there are some doctors who are skilled. I'm talking about Western doctors. I'm not talking about the traditional ones. Traditional ones, they are highly skilled. But there are some Western doctors who are highly skilled in such a way that they do healing that's not well understood by the people around them, only to realize that it actually works, even though it's done in normal textbook medicine. Because even today, the pharmacies, they mix up what God created from the earth, the herbs and the elements they made from rocks. They mix all the stuff up with chemicals to kind of like speed up their they call it therapeutic index, or the all involved therapeutic index, the half-time of medication, all the stuff. They put some chemicals to help speed up the healing process of some of these stuff, or the herbals that God made. All right? The chemicals, where they get it from? Still made from the earth. But it's just that some of it can be harmful to us, because not everything that is eatable is good for everybody. All right, keep going.
Verse 7. With such doeth he heal men, and taketh away their pains.
Read.
Of such doeth the apothecary make a confection, and of his work there is no end.
Apothecary, that's the herbal stuff, mixing up of everything. That's what it's going into. Go on. And that's your pharmacist. Go on.
And from him is peace over all the earth.
Yeah.
My son, in thy sickness be not negligent.
See that? In thy sickness be not negligent. Don't be negligent to see a doctor. Go on.
But pray unto the Lord.
Go on.
And he will make thee whole.
See that first thing, pray unto the Lord. Pray unto the Lord. Go on. He can make thee whole directly or indirectly. Go on.
Leave off from sin.
Stop breaking the laws of God. See, it goes back to Deuteronomy 28. Stop transgressing the laws of God. Go on.
And order thine hands aright.
Live a righteous life. Go on.
And cleanse thy heart from all wickedness.
Go on.
Give a sweet Savior and a memorial of fine flour, and make a fat offering as not being.
Going back into the first covenant. Go on. That's your sin offering. Go on.
Then give place to the physician.
After you must have dealt with the Lord to forgive you and confessed your sins, and you seek healing from the Lord, then you must do what?
Then give place to the physician.
Then give place to the physician. Go and see your doctor. Go on.
For the Lord had created him.
Go on.
Let him not go from thee.
Go on.
For thou hast need of him.
See that? For thou hast need of him. This is a whole class, all right? I don't want to go into all this. This is a whole class on its own. Give me Sirach chapter 30, verse 15. The book of Sirach chapter 30, verse 15.
Sirach chapter 30 and verse 15.
Read.
Health and good estate of the body are above all gold.
Read that one more time.
Health and good estate of the body are above all gold.
Read.
And a strong body above infinite wealth.
And a strong body above infinite wealth. Go up to verse 14. That's what I wanted. 14 and 15, not 15, 16. I'm sorry.
Verse 14. Better is the poor.
Because who are the poor today is our people. We are the poor of his people. All right, the poor of Zion. Go on.
Being sound and strong of constitution.
See that? Better is the poor, being sound, meaning sound in health, and strong of constitution. Sorry, strong of constitution means what? Your body. All right. Sound mind, meaning you are healthy in your psychology, psychologically sound or healthy, and strong of constitution, meaning strong in your body, physically healthy. All right? Better is the poor who has health or healthy psychologically and physically. Go on.
Than a rich man that is afflicted in his body.
Is afflicted and is not with physical or psychological health. Go on.
Health and good estate of the body are above all gold.
It's above any kind of money. All right, go on.
And a strong body above infinite wealth.
And a strong body above an infinite wealth. All right, drop that. Go to Sirach chapter 34, verse 16. Sirach chapter 34, verse 16.
Sirach chapter 34, verse 16.
Read.
For the eyes of the Lord are upon them that love him.
You see that? The eyes of God is upon them that keep his commandment, them that love him. Just like Christ said in John chapter 14, verse 15, if you love me, keep my commandment. Go on.
He is their mighty protection and strong stay.
And strong stay. He's our mighty protection and strong stay. That's why we have to go to him first with our ailments. Go on.
A defense from heat, and a cover from the sun at noon, a preservation from stumbling, and in help from falling.
Go on.
He raises up the soul and lighteth the eyes.
Read.
He giveth health.
He give it what?
He giveth health.
God is the one that give it health. He's saying so many stuff in this verse 16. So many deep stuff there, but we're going to leave it alone. Verse 17 again.
He raiseth up the soul and lighteth the eyes.
Read.
He giveth health.
He giveth health. God is the one that gives us a sound health, whether it be psychologically or physically. Go on.
Life.
Life.
And blessing.
And blessing. And blessing. Give me that. 3 John chapter 1, verse 2. 3 John verse 2.
3 John verse 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health.
And be in what?
And be in health.
Because when we prosper, we will keep the laws of God, like you say in Joshua chapter 1, verse 8, then we will prosper. Then we can be in good health. Sound mind and sound body. That's why if you have that sound mind, you are not sinning. You're going to have a sound mind, and that will remove fear and remove sickness. Go on.
Even as thy soul prospereth.
Even as thy soul prospereth. That's it on that?
Yes, sir.
Give me, before you read that, I'm going to give an example of what we mentioned. Give me 2 Chronicles, I think it is, about King Asa, who went to the physician without going to the Lord first. Give me that. First, I think it's 1st or 2 Chronicles 16, verse 12. It just came to my mind. Just need to bring it out. 2 Chronicles 16, verse 12. That's what it is.
2 Chronicles chapter 16 and verse 12.
Read.
And Asa, in the 39th year of his reign, was diseased in his feet.
So he has a disease in his feet. All right? Probably it might be some infection. It might be some wound that was infected. Who knows? Go on.
Until his disease was exceedingly great.
Just like normal Jake always do. Jake will always wait. Our people, when I say Jake, I'm talking about blacks, Hispanics. We always wait till stuff is very, very severe to go to the doctor. When you first have the illness, when it first started, we don't want to go. We're taking all kinds of this and that is not helping us. And then when it's already severe, even to the point of no return, now we want to go talk to the doctor. But in the beginning, when you were asked to see the doctor, you don't want to see the doctor. Read it one more time. This is typical of our people. This is us in the Bible. Read again.
And Asa, in the 39th year of his reign, was diseased in his feet.
Read.
Until his disease was exceeding great.
So until his disease was exceedingly great, what did he do?
Yet in his disease, he sought not the Lord.
He didn't look for the Lord. He didn't go to the Lord from the beginning when he got sick. Even up to this moment, when he got worse, and he didn't look for the Lord. Go on.
But to the physician.
But he went to the doctors first. That's not how we're supposed to move in this truth. Go to the Lord first so that he can be able to direct your step and your move towards the treatment by giving you a better doctor. Better doctor, better hospital, better staffs that will take care of you. All right? And what happened to him?
And Asa slept with his father.
And he died. Go on.
And died in the 41st year of his reign.
All right, drop that. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16, verse 12. That will be the last scripture. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16, verse 12. What you got?
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 16 and verse 12.
Read.
For it was neither herb nor mollifying plaster that restored them to health.
See that? It was not herb or mollifying plaster that restored them to health, all right? It goes back to, because this history here is going into what happened in Egypt. But to us today, it is not neither herb nor mollifying plaster that restore us to health. That's not what restores us to health. We give too much credit to these doctors, all right? The credit got to go first to the Most High, then the doctors. Now, of course, the doctor will be held in honor and admiration, like Sirach 38 said. They will be held in honor and admiration. But to the Most High and His Son first. First. All right? Read it again.
For it was neither herb nor mollifying plaster that restored them to health.
Read.
But thy word.
But what?
But thy word.
The word of God, that instruction. He can embed an instruction in your gene. All right? In your gene, He can embed that instruction to heal. Why do you think that when your skin is cut open, that it can just heal up by itself? And what do you think medication is doing for you? Even if you're completely healed, what do you think medication is doing for you? Do you think the medication is what makes you fully healed? Yes, the Lord will heal you through medication. But guess what? That's not what completely heals you. All the damages that your body already go through heals itself up. Why? Because there's an instruction embedded in your cells to heal up. Because those who know medicine will tell you there's something called collagen, something called fibroblasts, fibrocytes, all the stuff. It builds all the way up to heal a wound. Stem cells. It builds up to repair damages. Who created those? God Himself. How are they able to just walk together without God being there? They know what to do when you're wounded. Your blood, when you are bleeding, your blood knows what to do to clot up. Why does it? How can it do that? Because of an instruction embedded in your platelets, your thrombins, your fibrins. There is an instruction embedded in those from God from day one. Those instructions, they know, these cells knows what God commanded them to do, so they will do it when it's time for them to work, to heal you up. That's why you may be bleeding, and after a few seconds, you're no longer bleeding. And then in a couple of days, 5 to 7 days, depending on how big the wound is, you're already completely healed up. Because what? God, when He created man, He put those instructions. Whether it be for good or for bad. All right? Healing comes from the Lord. Again, this is a whole class on its own. But let's finish this.
But thy word, O Lord.
But thy instructions, O Lord.
Which healeth all things.
That's what healeth all things. That's what healeth all things. Even a tree. All right? That's it on this topic. So, brothers, sisters, whether you're in this truth or not, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, first of all, you are the true Jews. You are the Israelites according to the Bible. You are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We must keep God's commandments. Seek genetic counsel. Seek genetic counsel before you get married to avoid having a long-term disease ruining joy in your family. These are already curses that God put upon us. But He's showing us way of mercy. All right? With that, we say shalom. Messiah and Christ bless you all.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is